Perfect.
Okay. Sorry. You can see my screen?
Yes.
You
Yes.
see my, yes, okay. So, check. Better. So, to this business continuity plan, sorry, we wrote a procedure with the necessary rules to make remote audits in accordance with AFND4. It's the rules from COFRAC and from international certification body to do remote audit. So there are rules for the general case, and we complete with crisis provisions and the instruction and risk analysis that the part of Valentine Digonnet, risk analysis. So we start with the remote audit, and the objective is that you can ask your question if you want, but we have only 1 hour. So if we can't answer you, we will answer after by writing a FAQ, Vanessa. I don't know how we can say FAQ.
Yes, yes. Question and answer.
Yes, okay.
Yes, they have already one, but
yes, but we can complete if there are a question
yes,
here.
yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, yes.
The first action now with the crisis is to offer remote audit to our customers. It's very important to understand that the remote audit is a priority. Indeed, we can do at least 1 remote audit day systematically, 1 or more. We see after how to say the number of days we can do in an audit, in a remote audit. There are exceptions if there is a formal prohibition by the accreditor or by the owner of the standard, like in EITF, for example, or for IRIS and other standard. We write a list, and we will publish it this week for all collaborators and all auditors can discover what is the prohibition standard. But in the majority of the audits, we can do remote audit. So it's very important not report the audit, because if we report all audits, we will have some problem after to do this audit, because we won't have any days to do every audit referred. Valentine, do you know the number of remote audits actually?
From this morning, I couldn't see, but at the end of last week, we were at 1,300 days of remote audit. And the total reported delayed audit days are 5,000.
Okay, so you see, we carry out a lot of remote audits, but not enough, because we have a lot of audit on site to do in the next months. So it's very important to continue to propose to offer remote audits. In IF MD4, we have no limit to do remote audit. So we are responsible for defining when remote audits produce the same results that we could have with on-site audits. It's difficult because it's the first time we do remote audit. So we learn by doing. And we try to do the best to define the good number of days in remote audit. But we mustn't take risk for our accreditation. So there are rules, and we will see the rules in a few minutes. At first, what is a remote audit? It's important to explain our customers what is the remote audit. A remote audit is made up of different segments. Segments about documentary audit, to read procedure, to analyze documents, to control indicators, etc. On the segment with video audit, to collect information, to interview people, to discuss with the auditors, or see implementation of the company with cameras. All this time is remote audit. Documentary audit and video audit is remote audit. And it's the same duration as if the audit were on site. It is only travel time which is impacted because there are no travel time. You can do the remote audit anywhere, but you must respect appropriate place for security of the Wi-Fi, the network, and tranquility. So now you are at home, but in the future, remote audit will continue. We want a remote audit become a methodology to do audit, and in the future you could do a remote audit in the other place, but it must be security and it must be confidentiality. To be more comfortable, we suggest you alternate the documentary and video segments, because it's too long to practice 8 hours of video or 8 hours to read documentary. So we suggest you to alternate, and it's better if the duration is lower than 4 weeks, except if it's for big audits, or if you need more time. It's only recommendations, not an obligation, but it's better for cohesion of the audit. And this on the segment, the different segment, it's better if it's at least 2 hours. 2 hours minimum of video for cohesion too, because if you carry out 1 hour and 1 hour in a day, it's difficult to have a good audit. But it's recommendation. If you need to phone an auditor for 1 hour, it's okay. During the crisis, we don't want a limit for a remote audit. We want to do all we can do, because we privilege remote audit. Why? We don't know where the crisis will end. And companies need to continue to prove to their stakeholders that they are certified. If they suspend their certification, there is a risk that they won't restart it. And you can challenge their business continuity plan. And last but not the least, as I said, we won't have enough days available to carry out the different audits. So it's very, very important to propose that. I know you are auditors. AFNOR offer remote audit to our customer, but if you see the customer is not informed, you can inform him. You can say him that remote audit is a possibility to do his audit. We give you some situation totally appropriate for remote audit. This is a list. You are auditor, you know what you need to see to conduct the audit. You are the best person to know what you can see in remote audit or not. It's more difficult to audit production, except if it's immaterial production. But if you need to audit support function, or if you need audit services activity, small seats, secondary seats, you can utilize the remote audit. But there are a lot of other situations to do remote audit. So we try to define criteria to help the analysis, and we will publish these rules. So for the standard in QSE, for one audit or combined audit, we can do half in remote audit minimum from an initial audit, except if the expert said you can do more. It's okay for you? It's okay? You understand me, Vanessa? C'est okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You can complete if you want, Vanessa.
Okay. Just to add, be careful because perhaps it's after. Be careful because all standard don't authorize remote audit. It's just, for example, but I'm not sure. Automotive standard, it's not possible. Agro standard, it's not possible also. Just to be careful. But for management system, there is no problem, as
Yes.
Sandra said.
Yes. So for this standard only, because for each standard we have rules, but for this standard, the minimum is the half of the audit in remote. And if the company is known for surveillance or renewal, we can do 75 in a remote audit, 75%, sorry. And we can do in remote audit all for some activities. And I list the activities concerned. Vanessa, I don't know if there is the code EA in international?
EA code? Yes, yes.
EA code?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the same rules. Yes.
So is the EA code here, and for this EA code, we accept a total remote audit, except unfavorable opinion of the expert. For example, in surveillance or for this code EA, if we know the company, and if you know the manager is not a very good manager, or if he is not totally how to say transparent.
Transparent, I think.
Transparent, yes, okay. If he is not totally transparent, you can say no. It's better to see half on site, half % of the audit on site after, and only half % of the audit in remote, because there are risks. But in the more cases, these activities is okay to have a total remote audit.
When we speak about experts, for you in international network, it's for example the manager in the regional offices. It could be the auditor also, because as Sandra said, the best person who knows the company is auditor. It could be a support in France with an expert of the standard. It's a very large term, expert.
Yes.
Fabrice, if you want to add something, don't hesitate.
Well, not likely. You already told a lot. In fact, we're waiting for the auditors you have to make the first proposal and give the justifications for supporting the remote audit possibility, and then we will check it at the international division. And if you are lacking the argumentation you need, you can tell us, and we will ask our own expert at AFNOR certification.
Okay, thanks, Fabrice. For ISO 27001, in general case, we can carry out 30% in remote minimum, but we can do until totally remote audit upon review and validation of the project manager. Fabrice needs to see who is Brice Gibert, and Brice analyze the case and tell you how you can do a remote audit. Perhaps half remote audit, perhaps 75% of remote audit. So, but minimum 30%. And for
medical devices.
Medical device, yes. Management system of medical device. In general case, we can do all the audits in remote, minimum. But like in the informatics, we can go to 75% with validation by the project manager, Aude Leroy. Or for some activities, remotely accessible, principally software. So it's very new. These rules are very new, because we don't communicate about them before. You are the first to discover there, and we will give this. We will publish these rules this week. To do a remote audit, we have two obligations. First, we have to record the customer agreement. So an auditor can offer a remote audit to the customer, but he can't undertake a remote audit alone. You need to speak with AFNOR, and AFNOR must be in the decision loop and have the customer's agreement. Because you see, we need the expert review in some cases. Second obligation is traceability. Is the reason why the remote audit is written in the purchase order, in the audit notification, and in every document for the customer. It's very important for the AEF MD4 and for the COFRAC. And you need put it in the audit plan. You need to precise in the audit plan the parts of the audit that will be carried out remotely. And if this part change during the audit, you must change the audit plan. So the duration not change, and the duration initially planned remains unchanged in the audit plan. If we change the duration, we have a risk for our accreditation too. So for your preparation, you need to receive audit documents available to the client sufficient time to review them. It's important you can see it before the video. So you need to check with the client the documents you need before each video segment. And perhaps during the audit, you need other documents. So you need to check regularly with the client document that you need. You can do a part of remote audit by phone, but we prefer exchange with video, because it's better for human relation, and you can see documents at screen. You can see people. You can see implementation of the company. So we prefer you do with video. You give auditors some good practices for your comfort, the rules for the audit, the remote audit being better for you and for the customer. It's better if you do breaks when you want, when the customer wants. You fix these rules at the start of the video, perhaps every 2 hours, perhaps every hours, like you want. We have a lot of questions about open minutes and closing minutes. So it's not necessary to have a signature of the participants in the open minutes. You just write their names, and if you want, but only if you want, you could send an email to the client with the list. for validation. But for the closing minutes, we must have the client validation. Validation of the findings and the validation of the wordings of the certificate. But only if the audit is finished. Only if you do the totally remote audit. We will see. It's not for the audit we do in two parts now. Two parts. So we create a standard email that you complete and you send it to the client for validation. And the client resend the email crossing out false information. You transform it in PDF and you put it in the report.
Just to add, Sandra,
yes.
This template email, it's at the end of the audit remote audit procedure that you received normally through your regional office, and it's a template, so you don't hesitate to use it.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yes, it's different between France and international, so I prefer you complete.
Yeah. Thank you.
Currently, you carry out the audits in two stages, so in two parts. Remote audit, and in the few months, on-site audit. So specifically, you need to write only one audit plan with all the audits. Because if you write two audit plans, you take the risk of forgetting some chapters of the standard or time schedule for the audit. So a big audit plan with the remote audit on the on-site audit. To finish cleanly the first stage, you carry out an intermediate closing meeting with a PowerPoint to present first conclusions, and you send it to AFNOR. You send it to the customer, and you send it to AFNOR to finish this part, and to inform you had finished. But you don't write a closing minute because the audit is not finished. And for the second part, the on-site audit, even if the customer had worked on their non-conformity, when you go on-site, you must write every non-conformity confirmed in the remote audit, in the final report. It's important. We can have the traceability of all all you see in the audit, in remote audit or on-site audit, even if when you go a few months later, work had been made by the customer. We change the audit report because we need to have the traceability, but we need to know if the technology changes. If you, for example, if you use Zoom, or if you don't use Zoom. It's necessary to know in the report. And we need to know the achievement of audit objectives. So we put in the report. Particularly at this moment, you are in the best position to know if we can conduct remote audit in the future. So we want your recommendation for the conduct of remote audit for the next audit. You can put it in the commentary, but the report had been changed, and there is a part of the report to write this now.
Yeah, and now the new version is version 12.
Okay. Very important to this moment, it's the destruction of documents, as every time. But with remote audit, you receive a lot of documents from the clients. So it's very important to think to destroy them after the audit. I don't know, I have no long time, because Valentine needs to explain you the analysis, the risk analysis. There are Zoom about technology, Vanessa. It's not necessary. Perhaps I speak about.
No, we next week I will send this week for next week I will send you training about Zoom and about the document sharing, which is document.afnor.org. It's planned next week. So I will send you email to register in a session.
Yes, so it's better you see this webinar about technology. There are two tools we choose, Zoom and the cloud. We know Zoom is not perfect, but we will explain you why we choose it, and the webinar can help you to use Zoom and the cloud. Just a thing, all auditors are qualified, but if you don't want to do remote audit, it's possible. You don't like this. You can ask to be dequalified. But now we considered all auditors are qualified. So Valentine,
Yes.
You can put your document if you want.
Okay, I'll do it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to present you what we call the safety net, which is applicable in case of audit postponement. So some words about the background. As part of the crisis and the BCP AFNOR put into force a process in order to enable organizations to maintain the certification to the greatest possible extent. When a postponement of an audit is decided, an on-site audit, it has to be consistent with the certification validity constraints. And as Sandra said before, AFNOR has developed first a remote auditing procedure to overcome the difficulties of auditing on site. Then we have the safety nets, which is applicable when 100% remote audit is not feasible and that the audit cannot be scheduled at a later date according to the accreditation rules. So in this case, we propose to implement the safety net scheme in order to temporarily maintain the certificate after a positive risk analysis. So the triggers for this risk analysis are first that the client must make a request in writing to postpone his audit. Then he says that he does not want a certificate break and he cannot be audited 100% remotely. And the postponement period derogates from the accreditation or the certification rules. So the safety net is a specific and dedicated risk analysis that is carried out remotely, and its purpose is to assess the possibility and the risks that are associated with maintaining or issuing the certificate pending the on-site audit. The risk analysis is based on an evaluation of the client's activity, the measures that he takes, and the consequences in relation with the object of the certification. You may have seen that there are 4 chapters in the questionnaire for this risk analysis: the context related to the crisis, the resources, the product, service or management system compliance, and the management system. One thing is very important to note is that the risk analysis is not considered as an audit, and it does not replace the initially scheduled audits, which will take place later. So what is the scope of this analysis? It applies to certification services that depend only on accreditation. Therefore, it excludes proprietary standards such as IATF, IFS, BRC, and so on. And the process is only valid for the following stages. It can be for the first surveillance audit after an initial audit or for renewal audits. It is not applicable to initial audits. And you have a list of the applicable reference documents above, which are the ones relating to IAF, ISO, and AFNOR procedures. So you may also have specific certification rules applicable to the services when existing. Then, how to organize this risk analysis? First, the customer must request the postponement of these audits due to the crisis and confirm that he wants to maintain the certificate active during the postponement period. So once the need for the risk analysis is validated, the agency, AFNOR, must follow the modus operandi OSCAR health streets that identifies the new evaluation. And you have to issue specific documents. One document is the specific health risk mission order sent to the auditor. A specific health risk notification is sent to the client or put in the client area from OSCAR. The risk analysis tool then, which is the questionnaire, is sent to the auditor and to the client, because by receiving this tool, the client is aware of it before the assignment is carried out, so that he may start filling the questionnaire in advance and gather all the pieces of answers. There is a new version of this tool that was drafted last week. It is available, it is under translation right now, so I don't think you have it today. This new version is not new on the content, but is new on the format, because it hides the tabs that we want to be displayed only by the auditor, such as the global notation. So before the assignment, the auditor carries out tests on the tools to be used. As for the remote audit, the access to documents, the access to the video conference tools, the understanding of the functionalities. Then, on the conducting of the risk analysis, there are some elements. The auditor carries out this risk analysis by exchanging orally with the client and using the communication tools agreed with the client. The auditor must record the client's answers on the Excel risk analysis tool questionnaire, which is a specific tab. And once completed, the Excel tool must be sent to AFNOR within 2 days maximum. As Sandra said before, the remote communication tools are to be verified. The auditor can use the Zoom tool. If the client has its own video conferencing tools, they may be used. And also the analysis, only this risk analysis may be carried out by telephone between the client and the auditor, with sharing documents on the platform. The conditions of use for the Excel tool. I have to explain some little things. The auditor answers each question. There are about 30 questions, which may be of two types. These questions are explained on the guide tab of the Excel file. You have open questions for which the auditor is required to comment in the pin column provided, and questions that can be answered by choosing from a drop-down menu. Then the comment column allows the auditor to specify additional comments, if any. There is no requirement to collect evidence as part of this risk analysis because it's not an audit. The auditor can advise on a case-by-case basis as to whether or not evidence should be requested. In case you need to exchange documents, you can use the SQL tool, the platform that we talked about before, and the OwnCloud platform. And the auditor is neither required to prepare the risk analysis in advance, nor to review documents after the fact. So he just needs to prepare the to check the access to tools and planning with the client. The completed questionnaire will be sent out immediately or within 48 hours maximum, as we said before. How does it work? The open questions are not rated, but they allow the auditor to support the final comments, and they enable to validate or challenge the recommendation of the tool. For the question with the drop-down menu, that trigger a preset scoring. Some points are awarded automatically to each question according to the chosen answer with a coefficient. You can see that there are questions in red that just have been identified as particularly important, so therefore they are rated in the tool with a high coefficient. The overall score is automatically incremented by the tool, so it is the sum of all the points that are awarded to each answer selected in the menus. Then the conclusion, which is the tool recommendation, has been parameterized according to the number of points. The higher the number of points, the higher the risk on the certification. So you have the rate below. So we can have a low risk, medium risk, or a high risk at the end. Then there are 3 steps of conclusions to be conducted. First, the recommendation automatic of the tool. Then you have to put an auditor's proposal to write it. And this is to be supported in the general comment area. And it may be different from the automatic recommendation of the tool if it needs so. Then there is the AFNOR decision, and it has to be established by an account manager or an expert according to the recommendation of the tool and according to the auditor's proposal. Then, following these 3 steps, this leads to 3 possible levels in the final conclusion. Either you have a low risk and the audit on site may be postponed with renewal or maintenance of the certificate for 6 months maximum. Or you have a medium risk, and then an additional risk analysis must be conducted during the audit postponements. So the audit may be postponed with maintenance of the certificate, but you have to conduct an additional risk analysis. And you may have a high risk, and then certificate must be suspended. So what is the case of the medium risk? Case of the additional risk analysis. When the rating of the risk analysis gives a medium risk, validated by the manager or the expert, the agency organizes a monthly remote assessment of the client with the same auditor. The duration is about 1 hour each month, with an overall duration of about half a day over the audit postponement period. The pricing is built under the same conditions of the risk analysis, and the auditor has to use the same Excel tool previously completed and to discuss with the client by focusing on high risk issues as the situation evolves. These issues are the ones rated between 10 and 15, as well as open questions if necessary. There is no new rating. At each assessment, the auditor writes a general comment on the same Excel tool on a new tab, so a dedicated sheet, to reinforce the possibility to maintain the certificate active or to recommend the suspension of the certificate. So you complete the tab of the Excel tool and send it to the agency. What are the duration and fees of the risk analysis? A duration of a quarter day, all inclusive, for the remote risk analysis is proposed by default by the international division. Of course, on a case-by-case basis, a different duration may be defined with the auditor and the international division. We give an example for a very long audit duration on site, which is 10 or 20 days, for example. You can offer 1 day or more for the risk analysis. When the risk analysis is combined with a partially remote audit, there is no fee. It is documented during the audit, so there is no extra cost for the safety net. When the risk analysis is fully applied, it's to say the full audit is to be postponed, then a fee is charged. Auditor pricing is the day purchase price of the audit mission that is postponed, and customer pricing is based on the price for the day of audit of the standard. That's what I wanted to tell you about the risk analysis. Maybe we can share the tool. I try to do that. So, no, I will go to the decisional synoptic before, because we have no more time. So what we did, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
With the synoptic, yes, okay. So I try to make it.
It's okay, yes, sorry.
It's okay, thank you. So what we drafted is a synoptic to help to decide according to the case that is that you can encounter for the audit organization when there is a postponement required. So in fact, you have to decide upon the stage of the audit. If it's an initial audit, then first you always have to analyze the feasibility of the remote audit. If you can make a remote audit, conduct a remote audit, then the remote audit is sufficient to lead to a decision making. If you cannot make a remote audit or only partially at the initial stage of an audit, you can issue an attestation, as Sandra said, and then the remaining on-site audits will be conducted within 6 months with the decision making and the certificate issuance. If there is no remote audit possible, feasible at the initial stage, then you have to postpone the audit. Then when you are in a renewal audit stage or surveillance audits, let's start by the renewal audits, and that you cannot do the on-site audits. You have first to decide whether you can make a remote audit or not. If it's possible at 100% fully, then the decision-making certificate renewal is okay. If you cannot make this remote audit, but you can only conduct a partially remote audit, then the safety net applies. You have to make a risk analysis combined with a partial remote audits and with the 3 types of conclusions that I told you. If the conclusion is a successful conclusion, then the decision making is possible for issuance of the provisional certificate for a period of, I want to make it bigger, for a period of 6 months beyond the original, and then the remaining on-site audits has been conducted, plus the decision making, plus the renewal of the certificate within 6 months after the original expiry date. What is important is to notice that the audit cycle schedule isn't changed after this procedure. Still, for a renewal audit, if you cannot make it remotely and you have to apply the safety nets, it's to say the risk analysis, the full risk analysis, and there is a fee for the client and for the auditor. In case of successful conclusion, then the decision making is okay to issue the provisional certificate for a period not exceeding 6 months beyond the original, and then the on-site audit and the decision making and the renewal of the certificate must be done within 6 months after the original expiry date. Of course, in one another case, if the conclusion is not successful for the risk analysis, then the certificate has to be suspended. If the stage is a surveillance audit, first surveillance audit after the initial, then you also have to study the feasibility of the remote audit. If it's fully possible, then the decision-making certificate maintenance is okay. If you cannot do, if you can conduct a remote audit only partially, then you apply the risk analysis for the part of audit that is not conducted, and it is free. It's the same after. If there is a successful conclusion, then you can maintain the certificate and do the remaining on-site audits within 6 months or 18 months from date of initial certification. If you have to make a full risk analysis because there is no possibility to conduct a remote audit, even partially, then in case of successful conclusion, it can lead to the issuance of a provisional certificate of 6 months, and the on-site audits will be made within 6 months. If the conclusion of the risk analysis is not successful here or here, then you have to suspend the certificate. And last, if it is a surveillance 2 audit or surveillance 1 after a renewal, then you don't have to apply the risk analysis. There is no safety net because the accreditation rules enables us to make the surveillance audits during the civil year. So it's in our interest to make a remote audit. So if it is possible, please conduct a remote audit, a fully remote audit, and decide to maintain a certificate. If it's not possible, make a partial remote audit, which leads to the decision-making of certificate and a certificate maintenance. The remaining on-site audits will be as soon as possible on the calendar year. And if it's not possible, you don't have to do the safety net. You can make a full report, and the decision-making certificates and certificate maintenance will occur. Then it is the generic conditions in case of production maintained or not. If the production was maintained, then the audit will have to be conducted as soon as possible in the calendar year. If the production is stopped for less than 6 months, the audit will be conducted on-site as possible upon restart of operations and also in the calendar year. And last, if the production stopped for more than 6 months, then you have to make a suspension, and this is the classic transition process that is launched. Okay, so I'm at the end of this process. So I think now it will be good to see if you have any questions or if the international division have to make some comments.
No, for me, it's okay. The better is to answer if there is question or questions with S. I don't know.
We have 5 or 10 minutes.
You need to eliminate the sound if you want to speak. The microphone.
To turn
Yes,
on the microphone.
I had cut off the microphone.
Okay.
But if someone wants to speak, it can turn on.
Okay. If you want to ask us a question after the training, it's possible also, and don't hesitate to to send us questions through Fabrice or me, Vanessa Desroches. There is no problem.
Yes, because we said a lot of information. So if you have questions, it's better if Vanessa and Fabrice receive all the questions, and we will prepare the answers for this week. I see a question. When are you going to send the document? This document? We send it after the webinar, I suppose, Vanessa?
Yes. After in general, I received. I don't know if you know, Sandra, transfer in YouTube. I don't know if you know that, or if it's the marketing department who do that. I don't know.
I don't know, because I don't do myself for the other webinars.
We will find the solution. But after, yes, in general, I send you the video with the support.
She said the risk analysis form. Valentine.
Well, it's for Vanessa, because it's the translation of the new version. I think she's talking about.
We currently do the translation. I work on it, and it's near finished in my side. But yes, we hope to send you this week or next week. I don't know, because Fabrice, we want to send you with other documentation and not only this questionnaire. I think this week or.
Anyway, the last version is still current, is still okay, because we didn't change the questions. We just changed the way they are displayed for the client and the auditor.
Well, the Excel template I sent for the risk analysis is still valid. I mean, the new one is an extra version, but the one we already sent can be used. So if you already have a remote audit one, you will need to use the risk analysis. Are they valid for aerospace audit? That I don't know. I should check with
it's a good question.
With Pascal Thomas. Yeah. I don't know if they have done something specific to that. Do you know, Valentine, if there is any risk analysis specific for aerospace?
I don't think so. No, I don't know.
The best way is to ask the question to Nicolas Barlier, the product manager, or Pascal Thomas, if you know him. There is no problem about that, because I'm not sure. What I'm sure, it's for this questionnaire, it's for the management system. And after for the sectorial scheme, as agro or aerospace or automotive, you received also recommendation, and you need to follow it.
Yes, it's for standard in certification of services. The difference between the standard. I don't know if international is concerned, Vanessa.
No.
Okay.
No, rarely.
Or certification of product.
Yes. And often no product certification.
Okay.
When we are, it's managed by AFNOR certification in France.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Valentine, for your support.
Thank you, everybody, because I know my accent is not very good, so it's difficult perhaps for you to understand me, but
No,
it's a good exercise for me.
it was okay. It was okay, Sandra.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hélène.
Thank you, all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will send
Thank
you
you. Have a good day or have a good evening. Bye-bye.
and thank you for
Bye-bye.
person which are in off. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.